Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? We're going back to some more Mark Silvestri. We haven't done him in a while. So we're going to check out Cyberforce number 4 today. So before we get into it, if you enjoy the channel, if you feel like you might want to help out a little bit, what you can do is in the description, there's a link to my Patreon. And if you subscribe there, that'll give you access to all the stuff I do, all the Blood Force stuff, all the YouTube stuff before it goes up on YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. So yeah, we're officially past the point where I stopped reading Cyberforce now. I think I read up until the Killer Instinct crossover, and I don't even remember seeing this in the stores, to be honest. And Cyberforce is one of those books that I always like the look of, but I never gave a shit about the story, so I imagine seeing later issues would have been like, nah, I don't even know what's going on, if anything's going on. So it'll be interesting to see what some later Mark Silvestri looks like. I mean, this is just a month later, but it's the most recent Mark Silvestri stuff I've seen. And I'm trying to think of what's happened in Cyberforce up until this point. And it feels like it's not much of anything. We had the 4-issue miniseries, which basically just introduced everybody. And that was kind of it. And then we had the Killer Instinct crossover, which basically had them fight Wildcats. And then introduce Misery, who they killed off later. I believe Misery does come back at some point. Not today, though. So yeah, not much of a reason to get invested up until this point. And we're going to see from the cover here that the focus on this issue is largely going to be Ballistic. I feel like she was the character who did kind of get the most investment in the miniseries. And I mean, it's a pretty cool cover. Mark Silvestri seems to have an issue with drawing memorable covers. He's done a few. Don't get me wrong. But, I don't know, for the most part, they seem to be a little run-of-the-mill. This is basically just kind of a pinup of Ballistic. At least it's a well-done one. I hate to see the situation she needs to get into to have to use that sword, but anything's possible, I suppose. And we're going to find out that this issue is featuring Ballistic, Psyblade, Heatwave, Impact, Ripclaw, Striker, and Velocity. Yes, that is Cyberforce. Okay, so we're kind of at factory reset on this series, really. We don't have any big enemies to fight going forward other than the ever-present enemy of Cyberdata. So we're going to have to introduce some kind of new plot line. The closest thing we got to a dangling thread was at the end of issue 3. Ballistic had gotten new guns. I was going to do something with them. Probably shoot them, now that I think of it. So we're going to open things up with a drug deal in progress. Bit of a confusing panel, really. I believe this is on a rooftop, at least judging by these buildings in the background here. So, yeah, this is the deal going down, and then there's some guys here who are going to crash the party. So this is our opening splash. I'm not 100% invested yet, but we'll see how it goes. And we go to the vertical double page splash, which is not a usual Force Silvestri. That's kind of an odd move for him. He likes the horizontal one usually. It's deserving. It is a little bit, I don't know. This is kind of a go-to pose for Silvestri. It doesn't look like it would have been anywhere out of his normal bounds. Everything looks pretty good. It's just not mind-blowing. And I guess you'd expect it to be with a vertical double page splash from Silvestri. So these 3 guys are going to be killing everybody at this drug deal. And that's really all we see of them from this issue. And then we're going to cut to some origin story for Ballistic, where when she grew up, she was, apart from being hot and smart, she was also a gifted athlete and a star pitcher for her Little League team. Or high school team, or something like that. Maybe, yeah, probably high school team. And she was dating some dude, and then she found out the dude was mobbed up. So she broke it off with him, and dude didn't like that. So he got his buddies to beat the living shit out of her pitching arm with baseball bats, which is a little dark. We've seen, of course, that Mark Silvestri likes to go a little dark on this for some reason. When you got guys running around in, reflective, colorful costumes, you want to go a little gritty, realistic violence sometimes, or just like over the top violence, right? And I believe this is the reason that she has the new metal arm now. They don't say so specifically. They say her arm gets fucked up and now she has a new metal arm. And she has to take painkillers specifically for this arm. So then they really went to town on her, I guess. And something I noticed here, which is going to keep popping up, is awkward placement of dialogue or narration boxes. Fairly straightforward here, da 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 da. Sure. Then you get here and you go ba 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 ba, and you got to go back up here. I think. Yes. It's a bit of a problem because it does cross over onto this one here. So there's a second where your mind just kind of fritzes. And then you get down here. It's like, okay, wait, is this part of this panel? Or am I supposed to read across or down and across? I think it is part of this panel. I read it a minute ago. I think, yeah, that's the deal. And so, like, you're supposed to read there. It's not great. And like I said, this will keep popping up. And I think this is a Silvestri issue, actually, because, I mean, it's down to the page layouts. So that's a little strange. I don't really remember noticing that in any of the previous Cyberforce books. But anyway, now we're going to flip scenes to her sister, Velocity. And Velocity's supposed to meet up with Ripclaw somewhere to go to a concert. Because that seems like the kind of thing Ripclaw does on the regular. And we had some fun shots with Velocity running down the highway. They say she gets up to, like 125 miles an hour? And that's not anywhere near her top speed, but she's, kind of conserving herself. So that's cool. And while she's on the highway, she gets cut off by a limo, can't slow down fast enough, and goes flying off the expressway. And I guess she's got super durability. Why not? She's a superhero person. And turns out she was fine. And more importantly, her boobs were fine too. So now we're going to cut to another area of Manhattan where Ripclaw is meeting with some detective in a trench coat. Because if there's one thing we can rely on in Cyberforce books, it's cliches. So they're discussing the series of killings among gangland members, where drug deals keep going bad, and everyone ends up dead, and no one's sure why. But Ripclaw can tell that there were 3 people, and this wasn't for money, this was out of anger. Because he's got spiritual Native American stuff going on. And cool shot of Ripclaw. We're good for like a cool shot per spread. Right? Yeah, we got like the Velocity one. There's that, of course. Well, not so much. But, for the most part. And we get an ad for another bitchin' issue of Savage Dragon. What did you expect? Well, considering this is the cover, maybe something a little better. This is a little lame for an Eric Larson cover. Although, honestly, a lot of the Savage Dragon covers get to be kind of lame. Where it's just like a shot of something happening, but not like from the best angle. I don't know. So, Velocity's going to try and catch up with Ripclaw, and she's got her implant so that she's in communication with the Cyberforce guys, the tech guys specifically. And while she's running, she notices the car that cut her off. And she's gonna say some shit to that guy until she realizes that dude has a gun. That's a problem. So she's gonna hang out and just figure out what's going on here. Particularly since she recognizes the gun. And what's going on is a superpowered drug deal between some street hoods and cyber data, specifically Megawatt, and this is apparently Psychotron, who was in all the other issues. So apparently he's gotten a makeover. And this kind of thing is kind of representative of some of the problems I have with superhero comics sometimes. I mean, specifically the ones that try to go realistic. You can't do it because, I mean, here you've got this fucking drug deal, and there's this dude in a giant shiny suit with just shit poking off of him. Who knows why? and we're supposed to take it seriously. This is why, like, to me, I don't know, comics should be kind of goofy. Like, yeah, by all means, like, every once in a while, go a little more serious, but, like, not as a general theme, in my opinion. For the superhero stuff, I mean. And we find out the new drug that's making the rounds was produced by Cyberdata. They're the ones distributing it. And it's called Black Crack. Which, again, another thing that we're supposed to take seriously, and I don't quite think I can do it. And again, we get our mixed up word balloons, because what's supposed to happen here is you go here, and then what do you think? That's right, down here, and then back up. Very intuitive, right? But, I mean, that's kind of what you have to do, the way that the panel's been laid out. It might be a problem of too much dialogue, too. I'm not for sure. I mean, this is sort of the downside of Marvel method, is you let your artist go, your artist draws whatever he wants, particularly when he's your brother and he owns the book. And Eric Silvestri really thinks he can write. So he's going to come up with all sorts of fucking shit for everybody to say and then not have anywhere to fit it. This panel does feel like it could have been placed somewhere a lot more, I don't know, appropriate though. So, cutting back to Ballistic. She's going to go flying out of her apartment here, or maybe she's like Spider-Manning around the city. It is Manhattan, so the location's right at least. And she lands on a balcony outside of a card game. So, naturally, she's got to bust in, and they've got to threaten to kill her. We don't really know anything about why. Like, this stuff here is, she gave up on sleep because of the painful memories. But something else, a name and address, someone she knew, someone she needs to find. Like, all very vague. So naturally, we're going to get some stuff now with Ballistic kicking some ass. It's like, okay, that's what we're here for. So yeah, goes flying in, nice shot. And does the double kick, better shot. Maybe more than a little exploitative, but that's, who gives a shit, right? And you always like to see, Marc Silvestri has shown a proclivity to using the double page spread panel. Not the full spread, just enough to like link everything. It usually looks pretty great when he does it. And then the owner of the apartment comes in and knows her and is like happy to see her and stuff. So it feels like none of this was really necessary. And they get all chummy, like, hey, how long's it been? 10 years? You look great. Hey. And then they just kind of sit down and talk shit over. And she's trying to find Tony Castellano, which is the name of the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend who got her arm smashed. But you got to think she landed on her ass here, right? But they're unconscious, so they don't know. This is her getting up off her ass. Everything's fine. Nobody saw anything. And then we cut back to, I guess this is Psychotron now. Again, I'm not very familiar with this new costume, so there's a second where it's like, who the fuck is that guy? And yeah, so they found Velocity and have taken her captive. And they can't risk this deal, this black crack deal. So they're going to have to waste her. But they've got a dude here who's going to do it for her. And he's seen Blade 2, so he's got the mouth inside the mouth thing. I don't know if Blade 2's out yet. It isn't either. So this is an Aliens reference. Okay. And that's when Cyberforce smashes in. And, like, that's what I'm talking about. With the panel that stretches across both pages, that's how you fucking do it. Everybody gets equally spaced so that nobody's really being covered up. Nobody's hogging too much of the action, except for Ripclaw, who's supposed to hog the action. He's the Wolverine. And we finally get one of these leaping shots that isn't from dead on. And that's just the good stuff. You know, that's exactly what I want to see from Marc Silvestri. And the reason they're aware of Velocity in danger is because the geek kids were following Velocity on her implant thing, right? So, I mean, there's a reason. There's good enough reasons for everything in this, I would say. So we're just going to get some kind of mindless action here. These, like, drone guys here are reanimated corpses, so it's fine to kill them. They don't, they don't need to recur, or they will rather recur. But, I mean, they're always going to be the same every time. And we're going to get something I forgot about from the old series, which is Eric Silvestri's zingers, where you can't let a panel go by without saying something almost half clever. Oh, and we find out that Heatwave used to be in SEAL Team 6, which is, okay, why not? And they point out here, SEALs usually have an M60 machine gun for reinforcements, for covering fire. And I'm going to say, no, they don't. SEAL Team 6 is a counterterrorism unit. Unless they're deployed in the field somehow, like in a war situation, which they're probably not going to be. No, you're not going to be bringing a fucking M60 in there. But that's fine. I mean, he kind of knows what SEAL Team 6 is, and he knows what an M60 is. But that's just one of those things where it's like, get your facts straight. Nobody needs those facts. Nobody cares. So Psyblade does a Psyblade thing on Kilowatt. I'm still not entirely sure what Psyblade's power was. I thought she threw pink stuff that exploded. Maybe I'm wrong. And she's about to get cavalried by Psychotron, but Heatwave intervenes, and again, everyone gets zingers. So you always were a sucker for a pretty face, Megawatt. Lucky for us, that sort of thing doesn't interest me. He doesn't like pretty faces. Okay. I got a face you might be interested in. The last face you'll ever see. Okay. It's like, you thought that was cool, didn't you? Okay, that's all right. And Ripclaw is going to clear out the zombie soldiers here. And he gets his own splash page because he's the Wolverine. And it's a reasonably cool shot. But it does, again, feel like run-of-the-mill for Marc Silvestri. This is the kind of thing he does as a warm-up, I think. But everybody wants to see Ripclaw leap into action, so that's what he's going to fucking do. And then that dude with the mouth in the mouth comes running at Impact, because that's what Impact's there for. He's to fight the big guys. Kind of an awkward fight. This was the punch here. And then the dude goes flying out. I mean, okay. It doesn't, I don't know. Sometimes it feels like Silvestri's kind of taking it easy on this. Like when he's got to do the cool shots, it feels like he goes into autopilot a little bit. And then sometimes, I don't know. These backgrounds here, the staple down here came loose, apparently, somewhere. This is like the first time I've opened this. Like these ones are okay, but all this stuff here looks pretty great. Like he doesn't skimp on the backgrounds. He usually puts it in when he feels it's necessary. And I think he's got pretty good instincts for that. Like not much here. It's the great thing about the warehouses. You can just stack them full of boxes, right? But there, there's a little bit here and there. No, not much really at all. Oh, there we go. Yeah, stuff like this. Down here, Just enough so you're never really noticing, hey, wait a minute, there's quite a few panels here where there's no backgrounds. That's something I'm trying to master myself. All right, so they chase off Kilowatt and not Megatron. Psychotron. Again, they just go running down alleys, looking all shiny and sparkly and stuff. And it's a little silly. And so Cyberforce reconvene. They find out that in addition to selling the Black Crack, we get another reference here, they were also selling them some of those cyber data guns. And they figure that people are going to come back for the guns. So they put a tracer in there. That seems a little unlike, well, I don't know. You think I don't know. Like if I'm either a criminal or a giant dude in a shiny suit, if I come back to the scene of the crime and those guns are still there, I might look for a tracer. That's okay. Decent shot of Heatwave here. So now we're back somewhere in Manhattan. Some other place. I mean, at least they're staying in the same location. We get another shot of Ripclaw getting a full page here. Everybody must remember, he is the Wolverine. And he's got one of the weapons that was used back in the beginning, which doesn't seem like it would be even remotely effective. But they say it's something traditional. I didn't look it up, and I'm not gonna, so I'll take their word for it. And Cyblade talks to the Trenchcoat Cop. And Trenchcoat Cop's like, you believe in this mumbo-jumbo? And Cyblade's like, sure. I mean, it works sometimes, and he's got knife hands, so, you know. Like, what are you going to do? Tell him his beliefs are dumb? And now we're going to come back to Brooklyn, where Kasmash, someone goes flying through the window. So, yeah, Ballistic was on the lookout for Tony What's-His-Face, and she finds him. And remember, he was all mobbed up back when he was a teenager, so stands to reason he's still mobbed up. And it looks like she's wiped the floor with everybody in there. And she gets Tony by the throat and then kind of drops him and lets him go. Again, after killing everybody else. And leaves by saying, remember how good I used to be? You ain't seen nothing yet. She's like, okay. And that is a giant fucking head. At least everything appears to be in proportion. I don't even know how you pull that off. I imagine some kind of projection or something. Like photocopied up. Because like it's real easy to lose track of proportion at that point. And so yeah, that's it for Cyberforce number 4. And we got an ad here for the Shadowhawk Gallery. I'm not sure who this is. Is it Tex? It doesn't look like Tex. Or like the signatures don't look like Tex. The drawing, maybe a little bit. Could be like Tony McDaniel or something. Oh, or Javier Salteres, perhaps. I mean, it might be a cool thing to look through. And then we get our letters page. Scriberforce. And, you know, just all, for the most part, laudatory. Although somebody calls Heatwave, what was it? Was it a meatball? Oh, a chowderhead. Which, okay. Not an insult I've ever actually seen anybody use outside of like a Looney Tunes cartoon, I don't think. And somehow Freak Force is up to number 7 and Killcat's invading. And the Violator miniseries is coming out. I don't know if anybody ever read the Violator miniseries. It's pretty great, actually. It's written by Alan Moore. It's drawn by Bart Sears. It's 3 issues. You get in and out, and you get all sorts of great shit. And that's where the other Fleabag brothers get introduced. As well as the Admonisher, who may be a partial inspiration for Popo. Just a little bit. All right. So that's it for Cyberforce number 4. I mean, things got set up. Nothing seemed too egregious, unlikely, you know. The dialogue's a little cringeworthy, but it's not as bad as we've seen previously. So it's just during the fights, really, when everybody has to try and trade barbs. And I like to think that because they're in the middle of the fight, they can't think of anything really good right there. It's just blah, you know, whatever's at the top of it. Kind of like John McClane at the end of Die Hard, where he's fighting the big ballet dancer, where he's just like, you know, I'm going to fucking cook you, and I'm going to fucking eat you. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's in the middle of a fight. So it's like, yes, actually, I kind of like that. He's just really amped up, and he's going to shout things. So anyway, next time we do a Cyberforce book, we'll do issue 5. So part 2 of Assault with a Deadly Woman. Which again, not quite a good title. But, hey, they liked it enough that they were going to pin it on to several issues. So, who am I to judge? Just the guy making this video. So I will judge. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when the next one's coming up. Comment down below and call me an asshole for saying anything disparaging about Marc Silvestri. Feel free. I don't think I exactly go hard on him because, you know, it's fucking Marc Silvestri. So I don't know. Just when I see a lapse of some kind, you know, it does seem noteworthy because it's so rare. But anyway, you might be pissed off enough that you'll go over and subscribe on my Patreon so that you can comment there too. And I wouldn't blame you. And while you're there, go and check out all the Blood Force stuff, because everything I do is there, as well as these videos. You can comment on every single one I've ever done. There's a few now. We're getting close to fucking 300. And while you're there, feel free to downvote all of the Patreon exclusive content. That would be exclusive downvoting. But anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.